Hello. Welcome. Oh my, what a beautiful, beautiful picture of Kathy there. We have come to honor this day. None of us want to be here today, under this circumstance. But we've come here today to celebrate the wonderful life of Kathy, sister, mom, friend, aunt, practitioner at Seaside, a beloved Dr. Kathy, just a wonderful educator, one who, to the very end, I can remember visiting her shortly after she had her stroke and was in a coma, and she woke up, could just begin to talk a bit, and she was concerned about grading papers, going out of that place, and getting back into the classroom. She loved what it is she did, and she loved her spiritual expression here at Seaside as well. She, had a clear vision as to where she was going, and it said that it's good to have an end to journey toward, but it is the journey that matters in the end. And what I know, talking with Kathy many times over at Silverado, she still had a sharp mind. I mean, she was smart, she was active, she was engaged, and she was still brilliant in every capacity, and made sure you knew that. So, but anyway, there's a poem that said, "Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there, I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glint on the snow. I am the gentle autumn's rain, and I am the sunlight on ripened grain. And when you awaken to the morning hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds in circling flight, for I am the soft stars that shine at night. For I am not there, I did not die." So friends, one of the most consistent things about life is that it's constantly changing. It's forever releasing one form and it's assuming a new one. It's true in nature, and it's also true within the individual. So let us not be dismayed, however, in thinking that just because the form has changed, that the life that we've known as Kathy has changed. For the physical body, it's a marvelous instrument that has been given to us for a while to journey through this world, to express life in this particular dimension of our self-expression. But when the life that is within has reached the point where it no longer needs the physical body, or the physical body is no longer the appropriate vehicle or fit vehicle to house its expression, it lets it go. And Ernest Holmes, who is the founder of religious science, and he's one who said, hey, this wasn't a revelation to me, rather it's a compilation of the laws of science, the insights of philosophy and the revelations of religion. It's this common thread of truth. He said that as the eagle, when it's freed from the cage, soars to its native height, so the soul of us all, when freed from its temporary home of flesh, rises and returns. And so we're gathered here today to join in a brief farewell, a celebration, if you would, an honoring of Dr. Kathy. Like that, just she earned it. How many would love to have that PhD? I think she got from Santa Barbara, out of all places. But anyway, of our beloved Kathy Paulsen. And may I respectfully suggest that our thoughts be such that we honor her life, and that our thinking not be unduly sad, but instead happy, for the wonderful memories that each of us has in our time together. The contributions that Kathy has made to our life, the memories that will linger with us forever. For this is a special time together. I mean, just look at these pictures. They talk about memories. They just keep rolling. And Mark, I don't know what number. Mark 4, is it? Wonderful job, Mark. I mean, my goodness, what a wonderful gift that you have left us. And what we know about Kathy is, because life is eternal, that this has merely been just one of her stopping places as she journeys on. And probably no doubt she's hooked up again with Larry, and they're catching up, and she's giving him a hard time. And they at some point they said, "Hey, man, Michigan, enough with this winter. We're moving. You're coming with me, or are you staying behind?" And they moved together. This time he went ahead and blazed the trail, and I'm sure their reunion has been profound and wonderful and magical. I remember once working with someone that the doctors had given just a short time to, moved up to Camarillo, and visiting them, and they looked down. They said, loved the mountains that were up there, and the trees, which was God's poetry in motion. Is a place where the river ran, and the stars that sparkle at night, and one of the things he shared with me, he said, "I may not see you many more times, but mountain, I shall be alive when you're gone. And river, I shall be alive when you cease running toward the sea. And stars, I shall be alive when you have fallen from the sockets in the great downpulling of the material universe." And what a joyous understanding of infinity, of immortality, that we are more than the physical expression. I keep sharing this because I know Kathy believed it. I've sat in classes with her debating and talking and sharing that it is continuity of life. And something that Ernest Holmes also said, he said that nature will not let us stay in one place too long. She will let us stay just long enough to gather the experiences necessary to the unfolding and the advancement of the soul. For this is a wise provision. For should we stay there too long, we would become too set, too rigid, too inflexible. Nature demands change, and in order for that, we must advance. And so, moving on. Transition, continuity. I love what Socrates says, that death is not something you wait for to the final moment. Prepare for it. It's something that we look at. It's part of coming into this world and moving on from this world. I think it's right that we take a look at some wonderful words of comfort that Jesus left us. You can find it in the 14th chapter of John. And he says that, "Let not your heart be troubled. Believe in God. Believe in me and also. For in my Father's house are many rooms. And if it were not so, I would not have told you. But I now go to prepare a place for you. And do you not believe that I am with the Father, and that the Father is with me? And these words that I speak, I don't speak of myself, but I speak of the Father who abides within me. So believe what it is I have to tell you. And I will ask of the Father, and he will give you another comforter to be with you forever. Peace I leave you, not as the world gives, but my own peace I give unto you. And let not your heart be dismayed, and do not be afraid, because I have told you before it will happen. And so now I go to prepare a place for you, and you now know before it does. And I go, because I live, and you shall live also." We may not know exactly what's there, but I can remember doing some counseling with a gentleman, a young man actually, who the doctor had not given him much time. He was working on and grasping the concept, and you could feel his pain, his trouble, his concern, and his dog's outside the door scratching to get in. I said, "Hey," I saw this as a moment. I said, "Just let your dog in. It's okay." And he opened the door, and the dog came bounding into the office. And I used that as a moment and said, "You know what? That dog didn't quite know what was in there, but he knew you were in there, and he knew it was going to be okay." Well, we know that Kathy is now there, wherever there may be. And when that door is open and we cross that threshold, we know that love that we have shared with this wonderful woman, mom, sister, friend, aunt, what it is. That love, see, the thing about love, and why I mentioned Larry, is that love is multidimensional. It transcends time and space. That love energy is what was the attracting factor that has gone on in your relationship with Kathy. And that is what moves beyond the grave, if you would. That is what moves beyond the physical world. That love that brought you together here will continue to bring you together hereafter, because love is spirit expressing. And so we have that connection. And so let's unite our thoughts together for a moment in the 23rd Psalm, where it says, the Lord. That is the eternal presence of life and love. That's my shepherd. I shall not want. That means I shall not lack for the strength, the courage, or the comfort that I need at a time like this. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. That's where we're provided for. He leads me beside still waters, not those of turbulence or unrest or the fear or the anxiety, and he restoreth my soul to the confidence and the trust in spirit, in the Father, in God, what it is for us. And he leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake, and that is so we may show its likeness, so we may show the God nature. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. And thy rod and thy staff, that is the power, that is the protection. This is what comforts me. Thou anointest my head with oil, for I am thy own. My cup runneth over. It's because I am filled with the truth and the love. And surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And I shall dwell in the house of the Lord. That is the house of the eternal livingness. That is the house or the mansion with many rooms. Our room. And so, there was a poet who said, think of stepping on a shore and finding that it is celestial. Of taking hold of a hand and finding that it's God's. Of breathing new air and discovering that it's celestial air. Of feeling invigorated and finding that this is immortality. Of passing through the storm and seeing a perfect calm. Of walking and finding it home. Kathy has found herself home. And what I know for sure about Kathy's belief, as I said, spiritual practitioner at Seaside, we've had many conversations about the continuity of life. And her belief is that we're not going to attain immortality, but rather we are immortal now. And it's not that a dead person lives again, but rather it's that a living person never dies. I can remember when the first times asked by a family member at a memorial service, tears streaming down her face, and she leaned over and said, Pastor, do you think I will ever see her again? Her mom, that's who this girl's. In all my years in ministry, that's always one of the most straightforward asking questions that I often hear. And I remember my answer well. I say absolutely, with everything I believe. Just may not be the same form that we're used to seeing. But yes, you will meet again. See, the question is the challenge because we're asking questions with a need for an answer that is far beyond our realm of ordinary, commonplace understanding. We suddenly find ourselves asking questions about things that are beyond today's brunch, though Kathy's pies are definitely wonderful in delivering all the nourishment and comfort that we need. But there is a yearning that's deep inside of us that all of our stock options and money market accounts or whatever it is that don't answer the question. Spirituality has never been about the denial of the death of the physical body on this plane of existence, but rather there is something that is beyond the doorway of this world. And anyone who's ever stood at the graveside of a loved one knows that there's nothing that stretches the fabric of one's faith more than this kind of experience. Richard Bach, a wonderful current day philosopher, novelist, he said, "Don't be dismayed at goodbyes. A farewell is necessary before we meet again. And meeting again after moments or lifetimes is certain for those who are friends." To lose one of our dear friends after so many years of loving and caring and sharing, it's terribly painful. It's difficult to part with such a positive force that has been in our lives. But nothing physical is forever. And in reality, we can never really lose the people we love. They are immortal. And Kathy will continue to live in our hearts and our minds and decisions, and no one will ever replace her. But in spite of the pain, we are richer for all the years that we have shared. And because of that, we have so much more to bring to our relationships and our present life. I mean, of course, it seems very hard to tell us not to grieve over the loss of a dear one. But the fact remains that excessive grief is never really good for anyone. And anything that is beautiful and true can never be lost. And on this plane, we often see our dear friends go off to a distant land, or they move, and we don't see them for some time, for years and years. Well, death, in a sense, is really nothing more than that. Kathy has gone on before us. But one of the things we can do is cherish the memories. Take a look at the slides that Mark may send out to all of us to look at in the future. You know, Odysseus, on his Odyssey, in his travels, was enchanted and spent time with Calypso on the enchanted island. But when it was time for Odysseus to leave the enchanted island, he was getting on his raft, Calypso came down and said, "You can say goodbye to me, but you can never say goodbye to the memories of me." And there is no concern that we would ever say goodbye to the memories of Kathy. She is part of who we are. And so she came into this world January 11th, I think it was, in 1936. And how apropos, right after 4th of July, she chooses to free herself from the physical constraints of what she was experiencing. And so I'd like to move this into the time of our service where we get to share some of those memories. And Mickey, my goodness, would you come and share some of those beautiful, beautiful memories of your sister?
Well, as most of you know, I'm Kath's littlest sister. We have a sister and brother in between us. And so she's been in my life close to 70 years. And I realized as I looked at writing her eulogy just how special she was to me, and growing up with her and knowing that she was there. Kathleen saw the good in every person and the humor in every situation. And that is the way to roll in life. She, even when she fell off the roof of their home in Santa Barbara, she called me afterwards and said, "Mick, I fell off the roof, all my gymnastics came back to me, I tucked and rolled, and I only hurt in a couple of places. So that was, and that's her. That was Kath. Her favorite place was her kitchen. She always had an apron on. Loved making cherry pies for our brother. We couldn't have a family event without her making cherry pies for our brother, Mark. When Alex first met her, he discovered homemade popcorn. And the next visit we had at her house, she opened the door and he said, "Popcorn?" And for her granddaughter, Jessica, she introduced her to kettle corn made with honey. And Jessica still remembers how good that was. Kath also parented with ease and humor. When Lisa was little, she remembered getting a scrape, and her mom got out the mercurochrome, which, as all of you know, hurts like crazy when you put it on an open wound. But Kathleen took the pain out of that by painting a little bunny out of the mercurochrome. She also took parenting in stride. I remember being at her house, and I was in middle school, and I walked into her bathroom, and there was a little hole on the wall, and right in front of the toilet, it was smeared with this brown stuff. And I'm thinking, oh dear. And Lisa was about 3, and I think Bruce was 5, Dan was 7. I walked out of the bathroom, and I went in to Kath, and I said, Kath, there's something in here you got to see. So she follows me into the bathroom. She looks at it, and she goes, that's just Lisa feeding her snake. It was peanut butter. So anyway, the other thing, when she was, she did a lot of little home parties as a young wife, and she would have Tupperware parties and jewelry parties. And we had been to visit California, and we'd taken her oldest son, Dan, with us when I went with my parents. And Dan and I had collected clamshells. The tide would go out, we'd pull the clamshells out of the water, and we brought a bunch of them home with us. A couple that still had the clam in them that didn't smell real good after 5 days on the road, but we did bring them home and had some Old Maid's curls that we put in one for Lisa. Well, in the middle of a jewelry party, Kathleen is sitting there, and Lisa comes out of her room bringing this clamshell, and she opens it up, and her brothers had decapitated 2 gardener snakes and put them in the clamshell. And so Lisa says, "Where are my homemade curls?" Well, her jewelry party ended quite quickly. Kath also loved learning and teaching. That was her love in life. She worked as raising 3 kids on her first bachelor's in English. Then she got a master's in English and started teaching at our local community college, initially Lake Michigan College, and then decided that she also wanted to be a therapist, so she got her degree in clinical psychology, as I was getting mine in counseling psych, so we were in graduate school together. She introduced me and my parents to a program called the Silva Method, which dealt with meditation and keeping your thoughts positive and moving in the direction you want to move in life and tuning in to get the truth about situations. And in using those skills, the relaxation and the stress management that were taught in that, Kath added that to her classroom. She also, and I also trained together in learning biofeedback, which is using your mind to heal your body. So I had a good idea when she had her stroke where to go with the kind of treatment for her, what she would need and what would work for her. She was also a TA during those times, a teacher's assistant with Dr. Mel Robertson, one of the psychologists. And Kath is, those of you who know her, was very tidy. And if anything was out of place, it was quickly removed. And so I had walked in as she was getting ready. It was the end of the year class party, end of the semester for his students. And so Kath offered to have it at her house. And Dr. Robertson walks in with a paper bag, and set it on the floor, and then went to greet the students in the other room. In the meantime, Kath was preparing stuff in the kitchen. I walked in the door, and she said, put a bunch of trash on top of the bag that had just been set on the floor, and said, "Mick, would you take this to the dumpster?" So I go down to the dumpster dump this bag into the trash, come back up, and Mel Robertson walks in the kitchen at that point and goes, Kathy, did you see the bag that I put right here? It had wine and cheese in it for the get-together. And she goes, I'm sure it's here somewhere. And then she turned around and looked at me and went, Mick, go get that bag. So I got to dumpster dive for her class party. So, but she remained calm on the outside during all of that time. And in her classrooms, she used relaxation with her students and had them focus on their own creativity. And she was teaching creative writing, which was very powerful and very effective. With her training as a psychologist, she was also able to tune into her students and help them move beyond areas that they were stuck in. So she was a very talented person, and when I started working in special ed with emotionally disturbed kids, she said, why don't you do this with the kids? And I remember thinking, these are 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, and I'm going to get them to lay down and relax in a classroom. And they were all labeled emotionally disturbed. I thought, okay, let's give it a try. Kath kept saying, I know you can do it, Mick. I know you can do it. And I was able to do it. And her encouragement got me there. And I was able to get 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders from 16 different school districts who had severe emotional and behavior problems to lay down and relax after lunch recess, which then gave the teachers another hour and a half of teaching, because normally after lunch recess in an elementary school, the kids are done. So Kath's pushing me to do that made a big difference for those children in that program. And I had the fortune of running into one of the teachers just a couple months ago, and he said to me, in all his years of teaching, and he taught for 45 years, he said he never saw anything as powerful as that relaxation with his students. And I got that idea from my sister. Now the next part is Larry arrived into the picture when Kath was a graduate student, and she had gone to Parents Without Partners and met this wonderful guy. And we were home at the house because we were roommates at that point, and the phone rang and I picked it up and this male voice says, could I speak to Catholectomy, please? And I'm like, who? And he said, Catholectomy. And I said, hold on, please. So I covered the receiver and I said, Kath, there's some guy on the phone that wants to speak to Catholectomy. She turned beet red and goes, oh, that's Larry. So I knew it was love right there. The other thing that happened with Kath and Lair was Lisa, Kath's 16-year-old daughter at that time, came to live with them. And Lisa, in her practical jokes, decided that she would surprise her stepfather and mother and put a whip under their bed. Needless to say, Kath was unaware that was there. So was Lair. And when they went to move to California and they lifted up the bed to move it to Dutch Reformed gentlemen, gasp. And Kath looks at him and goes, oh, I don't know how that got there. And Lair goes, heck, don't believe her. I still have welts from the last session. So she also loved traveling and exploring new places. She went to Scotland with me and 2 of her friends in the 80s. And that was fun, although I realized quickly into the trip that Kath had no sense of direction. And it was further pointed out to me because both of the people that were traveling with us said, Mickey, where are you going today? And I'd say, so we're going to go with you because we'll never get back if we go with Kathy. So she went on a lot of journeys with Larry, which was fun. One of which was after we came back to the United States, Kath and Lair went on to Scotland or to Denmark and took a ferry boat ride. Well, when they got into port, Kath got off the boat and went. Lair went to the car to get it off the boat, and they were both panicking because they couldn't find each other. So her sense of where she needed to be, was literally by intuition. The other thing, too, is she decided she was going to take some of her grandchildren on a trip. And she had Lisa, Ian, Ashton, and Corinne, her Lisa's kids, Ian, Ashton, and Corinne. And they were about 14, 11, and 7 or 8 at the time. And I said, Kath, you got high school, middle school, and elementary school, you might want to have some activities for the car to keep them busy. And she goes, I raised 3 kids of my own. This is a breeze. Well, when she arrived at my door in California, the first thing she said was, we're here, they're yours, and I'm leaving. Then she also, Ren, her youngest, Corinne, the youngest granddaughter, had said to me, by the time this conversation had happened, had gone through my apartment and come back out, and she said, Aunt Mickey, do you live here by yourself? And I said, yeah. And she says, oh, it's a good thing we came to visit. So, Kath was also one to take the kids to places like Disneyland and Legoland. And she decided to take Lair's grandson, Jeremiah, and Alex, my son, to Disneyland. And Alex was at the same school that I was working at with the emotionally disturbed class, although he was in regular ed. Let me clarify that. He wasn't in that class. But Kath came to take him from his kindergarten classroom to Disneyland with Jeremiah. And so she pulled up to the school. Jerry was already in the car. And I came out with Alex, and he got into the car. And as I'm walking back into the school, I look back and watch Kath drive over the curb onto the sidewalk and back down onto the street, right? And I'm thinking, oh boy. I get into the office, and the 2 secretaries, Margarita and Ann, both look at me and say, and you're letting her take your son? She was very active. Even in her 70s, Pilates, bike riding, walking, and could cream us all at Pig and 21 at basketball. Always. I managed to come in second a lot of times, but always. And my great niece Caroline, who's sitting there, at one point said, that's it. I'm beating you old people next time. So, and we actually bought Kath her own basketball hoop when she turned 75. So as her birthday present. She was always energetic and always active, and I remember Alex's first name for her was Und Caffeine. And I thought, that's pretty appropriate. So at 76, she got, after Lair passed, and she was lonely and missing him, she got on Match.com and actually met a gentleman named Rob Douglas. They fell in love and got together and were actually living together at the time that Kath had her stroke. And so, to me, that was pretty brave, for one, to get on Match.com, as it was, but Rob stole her heart by his first phone call, which wasn't catholectomy like Lair's. He sang, I'll Take You Home Again, Kathleen, over the phone, and that did it, just as much as catholectomy did. So, even as a stroke and CVA survivor, she kept her sense of humor. When she was in the nursing home, and those of you who know Kath, she liked 2 drinks, tea and Coca-Cola. And she was in a room with another lady in the nursing home after her stroke, and the lady had a can of Coke on her little bedside table. And Kath asked the nurse while we were there, I would like some Coke. And she said, oh, no, you could choke on it, you can't have that. So we left and came back a little later, and that Coke can is on Kath's table, and it's empty. And I said, Kath? And she said, I wanted a Coke. So that was it. Then in the nursing home, because of the changes to her brain, I remember her saying to me, I went in to see her, and I said, well, how you doing? She says, I'm exhausted. And I said, you are? Well, what have you been doing today? And she said, I gave birth to quintuplets this morning. And I said, oh, really? And I was trying to decide, do I play along with this or do, because she's had a stroke, how do I handle this? And then she goes on and says, and they all dance together, they sing together, and at the end of each performance, they fart in unison. And I thought, seriously? But the one that really got me was I came in, and Rob had twin grandsons that were about my son's age at the time. And Kath, when I came in, I said, how you doing? She said, I'm tired again. And I said, well, what happened? And she said, I gave birth to Rob's twins. And I'm thinking, Kath, you've had a hysterectomy, right? And I finally voiced that to her, and she said, I know. And she said, they're beautiful little boys. And I thought, okay. So we went to see her doctor about a week later, Dr. Brunst, and I said to him, Dr. Brunst, could you explain, trying to help her get back to reality, and I said, could you explain to her that she couldn't have had twins, you know? And Dr. Brunst looked at her and said, well, Kathy, you know, you've had a hysterectomy, and to have twins, it would be a miracle. And she looked at him straight face and went, it is, isn't it? So anyway, as you know, there was nobody like Kathleen. She's just a beautiful spirit inside and out, and is definitely missed by all of us. I know she loved being at Silverado, and as some of you know, she did not care for the first place we had her in at all, tried to escape every chance she got. When she got to Silverado, she rode with a nurse named Christopher, and by the time she got there, she was in love with the place. And one of the days when I had taken her to see a doctor, and Pierre, the driver for Silverado, was driving, she started to panic, and I said, what's wrong, Kath? And she said, where are you taking me? And I said, we're going back to Silverado, where you live. And she looks at me, and I said, we're on the Silverado bus, and Pierre pipes up, and rumor has it you like the bus driver. So, which broke her up, that got rid of the stress. And she said, is that the place with the horses in the backyard? And I said, yes. And she said, oh, good. And that was the end of the conversation. So I'm thankful for Silverado and the love and care they provided for her, and Lauren is here to represent them today. They really helped her continue to be active, continue to have purpose in her life, which was everything to Kathleen. That meant a lot. So she had a zest about her that most of us never find. And Kath did it naturally. Her home was always bright and cheery, calm. She had a soft music playing on the TV that also had waterfalls and things on it. She had the windows open, the doors open, and there was always a welcoming energy when we went into her house. She was full of love, kind, caring, cheered her children and siblings on, supportive, positive, creative, beautiful, inside and out. And I could go on and on and on with positive statements about Kathleen. She is definitely missed and will be missed, but she will, as Reverend Christian said, always live on in our hearts. So thank all of you for being here, and thank you, Reverend Christian, for being here and for doing the ceremony for us. Thank you.
That's the spirit that lives on, that makes us smile and laugh even now. Thank you for doing that. Hey, newsflash, Lynn, you've got a message for us, a story. It was in print.
Thank you, one and all.
So got it.
I am going to read an article to you that we found, Mickey found it, that I thought really told a lot about Kath. This is from the Santa Barbara City College newspaper. It was written in December of 1991. The student's quiet as she walks into the room. Smiling, she sets a tape recorder on her desk and begins to write on the chalkboard. The class, reacting to this routine ritual in a strange Pavlovian fashion, begins to shuffle desks into a large circle. The lights are turned off. A breeze comes through the open windows. Unwary eyes shift, then close with hesitation. Someone sighs. The teacher presses play, and music begins. The rhythm of drums initiates a relaxing period normal to the everyday routine of Kathy Paulsen's English class. Today, it is drums. Tomorrow, it may be wind and thunder. Her voice sometimes will mix with the background sounds in a low, husky tone, barely audible. She asks that you concentrate on a subject. Today's subject is security. Someone scratches, someone else sniffs. Giggling is heard somewhere. A few students look around kind of like they are sleeping instead of concentrating. Others look, checking to see if those near to them are being serious. Someone snores. At first, I thought she was whacked, said one student who asked to remain anonymous. But then I really used the time she gave us, and I actually look forward to it. Dr. Paulsen begins her class every day with 5 to 7 minutes of reflection. She found in her doctoral research that the focusing period at the start of class increased academic performance significantly. I have always had one foot in education and one foot in therapy, says Paulsen, because in the first year of teaching at an inner-city high school, I found that a good share of my students needed therapy as much as they needed education. Paulsen, who holds degrees in both clinical psychology and English, is turning away from the traditional approach where the teacher rules the class with an iron fist. Instead, she is trying to help her students help themselves. I feel a major goal of education should be to discover more fully who you are, she contends. The subjects of her assignments vary widely. Students can explore their own definitions of love and security one week and study quantum physics the next. Her class has no deadlines. There are designated times to turn in papers, but you can also wait until the last week of the semester. Some students get mad at me because I haven't said this is due here and this is due there. She says that with a smile. They want me to take that responsibility for them. An important part of education is to learn to take responsibility for yourself. She further adds, for me, the 50-minute period is way too short. She prefers the 3-hour period. You can really go into a topic in more depth when you don't have to interrupt it in 50 minutes. There is method in her madness, it seems. For example, the reason students' desks are in a circle is based on studies done in effectiveness of students' seating arrangement on academic performance. In a traditional classroom with desks in rows, students in the front row tended to do better in class. In a circle, everyone sits in the front row. As the lights come back on, you will feel relaxed and focused, her voice reassures. The lights are turned back on, and her class begins. That was Kathy.
Thank you, Lynn. You got a beautiful speaking voice. Now, your hubby, Mark III, he's got a pretty impressive voice himself, too. Mark, you have a musical gift for us.
Still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. There is no life without its hunger. Each restless heart beats so imperfectly. But when you come and I am filled with wonder, sometimes I think I glimpse eternity. You raise me up so I can stand than I can be.
Wow, Mark, that was powerful. What beautiful voice, clarity, for sure. Well, in a moment, we're going to ask any of our friends who are at home if they have anything to share. But I'd like us to start in this room. Do any of you have a memory or a thought that you would like to share of your time and experience with Kathy, with all of us? Help bring her spirit a little bit more into this room, her time with you. I want to invite you to come forward and just stand here with the microphone so our friends at home can hear as well. Well, good thing you have a viewing audience here, because I know that we've got a couple who've been with us that would like to share virtually. So Mark, 4? I think I met Mark 5, a small one today, but so they will present in the room any moment.
Jack, you still with us? Anybody on the Zoom care to share? Thought we had Jack and Jeff wanting to say something. You need to hit the mute button. There we go.
There we are. I'm here, and we're very saddened that Kathy's gone. She and I kind of had different orbits, and Dad and Kath didn't get married. I was in college at the time. We never lived in the same household, but we did visit Dad and Kath a few times over the years. And like in the 1990s, I was only in America for 2 months total, so there wasn't a lot of opportunity to visit. But when Dad and Kathy moved to Santa Barbara, I visited them out there a couple of times. A beautiful place. And one time I went with my grandmother, Dad's mother. I kind of was her escort to visit them in California. And so I'm glad I was able to do that for Dad and for Grandma too. And in 1994, we were in the States for about a month, and we visited Dad and Kathy when they were in Wilmington, North Carolina. And somehow, I don't know how they got to Wilmington, North Carolina, because they were always California people. Wilmington is quite a different mindset. And also we were there in the summer. It was terrifically hot and humid and a lot of flying bugs. So we dealt with the climate as best we could. And I was able to visit in Carlsbad 2 or 3 times too. And Kath was always very even-tempered, balanced personality. She was very gracious, she was very hospitable, and she was nice to be around. She was not a negative person saying things about anything or anybody. Well, she was always very respectful and looked for the good in things. She also was a pretty good cook, so we enjoyed some of her creations. And my daughter Lena and I we flew to California, but Dad was failing in 2009. Yeah, about early July 2009. And we were able to visit with Dad. I mean, he was in I don't know if it was a nursing home or assisted living, but it was a very nice place. And so we were able to visit, and of course he was in residential care. Saw Kath, and then we drove his Toyota RAV4, classic now, 1998, back to Wisconsin. My daughter Lena and I. In fact, we're at Lena's apartment right now in St. Paul. And about 2 weeks after we were there, Dad passed away. So I'm thankful that we were able to visit with him, and saw Kathy as well. And I learned a lot sitting through this memorial about her from Mickey, from Mark, Lynn. I just knew her as an English teacher at the community college. Didn't know she had that other professional dimension to who she was. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say, because I don't have a lot of brilliant observations. Just that, we're going to miss her. I'm sorry she had kind of a difficult end of life, but no one has control of how that's going to go. She's pretty bright, and no doubt she knew a lot about what was going on, and the difficulty that she was having trying to do what she wanted to do. So I just pray that her soul would rest in peace. And thanks to Mark for organizing this memorial on Zoom, and wishing all of you all the best. Some of you I don't know at all, some I know just a little bit, but we know that Kathy's side of the family is out there, and I'm the oldest Paulsen boy of our generation. My sister Jane is 1.5 years younger than me. She lives in Florida, and then there's Jack, who was on earlier. He's the youngest, and they live in Battle Creek, Michigan right now. So, all the best. Thank you so much. Over and out.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
All right. I just have two things I want to say. When I was about 4, we were living in Bloomington, Illinois. And being a curious 4-year-old, I was rooting around in the backyard, found an ant nest that I dug around in, and I gathered a handful of almost hatching ant eggs, carried in a palmful to my mom and said, "Mom, look, I found wiggling worms." And she looked at me white-faced and said, "That's nice, son. Take it outside." A little later in life, I would bring home snakes. "Look, Mom, look what I found." "That's nice, son. Take it outside." Well, the past several weeks, there is one song that has been rolling around in my head. I forget who the artist's name is. He's a country singer. And the song is "Go Rest High." And I wish I had my voice, the voice that I used to have, but go rest high on that mountain. Child, your work on here is done. It's a beautiful song, and that's been rolling around in my head. And with that, I will let anybody else talk who wants to.
And Mark, do we have someone else? We've got someone in the house here who'd like to speak. Yeah, come on.
Okay, go ahead, Jeremiah.
All right,
Mom,
Sharon.
Dad, I don't know if you can figure out how to use Zoom yet, but I know you're using your phone, and you can scroll left or right between the video that you're watching and stuff, and there should be one all the way on the left that's like a tap to speak for if you want to talk. But I do also have a memory. I think it was the first time that I went and visited them when they lived in Carlsbad. I was like 8. And I was into the Berenstain Bears books at the time. I loved reading when I was little. And Kathy, I think Kathy liked that 'cause she was an English teacher. But I remember I was reading one before bed while I was staying there for my few days. And when she came home from work the next day, she brought me back another Berenstain Bears book. And I just thought that was really nice. I didn't get to spend too much time with her, but she always wanted the best for Larry. I know my grandpa. I don't know that because I remember every morning we'd eat breakfast, and only the first day that I got there, he would eat the chocolate cereal with me that you can get in California. And after that, he's like, I would love to eat the chocolate cereal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, but she won't let me. And then they both started laughing. And I thought that was kind of funny. Just their marital humor that they had even at the age that they were. And that's all I have to share. Mom and Dad, if you can figure out how to use the mute button, go ahead.
Thanks, Jeremiah. Sharon, come on up.
I just wanted to speak a few words about Kathy's chapter in her life here at Seaside, and that she was a practitioner, and I'm one of the practitioners. I'm just, was very honored to serve with her as part of the ecclesiastical team here. And she mentored, a lot of new practitioners. And we also had the wonderful opportunity of taking deeper classwork with Reverend Dr. Alice Bandy. And we went to Alice's home, and we did that as a group for 10 years. Kathy left a little sooner than that after she met was it Rob? Yeah, and part of what we did in class with Alice was about kind of like living your best life, stepping into what your heart's desire. And so she definitely got her wish, right? She fell in love again. And it was such an empowering, beautiful thing to bear witness to. And I just remember Kathy, and she just always kind of had this beautiful brightness around her. She just kind of shined, and she had this beautiful, stunning look about her and a beautiful smile, and so kind and humorous and very creative. And so I don't know, I'm sure you all know about her spiritual life here, but we really were blessed to call her a friend and a fellow practitioner.
Yeah, it was 2002 when she was first licensed, a national license by the organization, and she was a powerful consciousness and presence. And I think it was maybe about 2006 or 7 she became the master practitioner, with Sharon. So, yes. Hey, Jack, talk to us.
Hey,
Hey.
it's your mom always inspired me. I can tell you that. I met her probably was at 78 or so, and she inspired people in lots of ways. Still taught college into her 70s. I admired her so much, what she had done, and I can tell you, all the years I'd been around and done everything, I couldn't count on my hand the times I've ever seen her upset or what a great teacher about not getting pissed off about life or not getting just a wonderful. I think about it all the time. I wish I could be more like her. Tell you the truth, and putting up with my dad towards the end, and she just had a calm demeanor about her. I think it's why her students loved her. She was just that person. That's what I still call her right now, that person. And I will never forget her. I'll tell you that. It's someone we should all admire. And that's, it's what a wonderful, joyful person that I think she always thought shit through before she said anything about, this is how it should be. And and sometimes I'd ask her stuff and she'd set you straight. And wonderful person. Wonderful. Yeah. Oh, man.
Okay.
Yeah. Very great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. I appreciate that. I remember Lucky introduced me to a magazine called The Week magazine, and then Kathy used to have me sneak it in to the couple different places she lived in the last area, because I don't know, I wasn't that radical, but definitely it was progressive in its thought, and Kathy was definitely on the leading edge of progressive thinking. So, anyone else here or there who'd like to share? Dr. Christina.
I have the honor of being one of the ministers here, and I just always admired Kathy. Her hair never, ever was out of place. And it was like, how in the world does she do that? And she was always so elegant, and she was always so bright and positive. And I educated spiritual practitioners online for about 17 years, and we always had to send our students to practitioners. They had to have different practitioners every quarter, and Kathy was always high on my list. I always sent my students to her because I knew that she would show them what a skilled, amazing spiritual practitioner who does spiritual guidance and support should be. So Kathy, thank you for all of the light and the love you gave to all of my students and all of the people that you have served at Seaside as an amazing spiritual practitioner. Thank you, Kathy.
So I know everyone has stories to share, and so in a little bit we're going to be wrapping it up with pie out in the garden, so it'd be a great place to continue to share those stories and to keep our spirit going. And Mark, anyone else online that wants to speak before we wrap up this open mic time? Okay. You guys get to have pie and talk, but... Yeah, so do I. That's it. I'm talking about the throngs of fans in the virtual space. Though they can have pie. We good? Okay. Okay, one more.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I just want to say that at age 3, Mom began teaching me how to read and also do art, along with encouraging me in exploring my own little world. Aside from bringing home star-nosed moles and snakes and ant eggs and everything else I could get a hold of, she encouraged me with my education. And as a result, late in life, I earned my degrees. And because of my interest in earth and space science, I began teaching earth and space science in high school after I retired from the military. But anyway, I know she's smiling down on all of us, or smiling with all of us. That's a better way to put it. And I look forward to our long conversations when we do meet again. Thank you, and God bless everyone.
Thank you. Accept that. Speaking of science, there was the world-renowned space scientist Wernher von Braun. After being an atheist, the biggest part of his life, said that he discovered that life has not made a provision for termination, only transformation. And so we know this life has transformed, and losing such a dear and positive force in our life helps us to see the value of doing good and showing our love now. For our time is limited here in this world in which to do good and to love God and to love our friends, to love others. We may not have tomorrow. All that we are assured of is today, the here and the now. And if there are those that need our love, let us love them today. And if there are those who need our forgiveness, or if we need to be forgiven by them, let us see that this is done today. And if we need to trust in the Spirit, let us do so today. For the Scripture says, "Behold, now is the acceptable time. Behold, now is the day." Kathy reminds us that now is the time. See, one of the most beautiful promises can be found in Isaiah of 25th chapter, verse 8, where it says, "He will swallow up death in the victory, and Lord will wipe away the tears from all faces." And that promise is being wonderfully fulfilled for Kathy. See, the actual truth is there is no death. When a person seems to have died, all that has happened is that they have left their body behind and they have gone on to the other side, minus the physical body. And they have fallen asleep here, if you would, and have awakened with a greater realization of the immortality and the continuity of that life force. And minus a body for Kathy that was no longer functioning at the level in which we all knew her to be. For the eyes have not seen, nor the ears heard, nor the heart able to conceive of the things that God has in store for those who love Spirit. And if we could look out upon life and see it as Kathy sees it now, if we could look out upon the vistas and see it as she sees it in this moment, none of us would want to call her back. And Kathy knows that. She knows it through the experience. And so, friends, we grant a very special place for silence, or what her mom said about her at the age of 3. And one of those pictures that was up there, Mick was telling me that on the bottom, Mom, at the age of 3, says, "Kathy's meditating." At the age of 3, she took meditating into the classroom with not the wild, but with those who are unfamiliar. She'd turn off the lights. And so I think in honoring Kathy, it would be wonderful for us to take a moment in the stillness, in the silence, and allow that Spirit to enter in and put its arms around those of us that could use that little extra support, and to feel that divine touch in this moment. And then I'll bring us back with a little bit of prayer. So let's take about a minute in the stillness and feel that strength and that faith reassuring us that everything is all right. We have come from God, and to God we shall return. We've all been made immortal, and we shall live somewhere. Our dear Kathy, who's gone on before us, is already united with those she loves. And she and they are as consciously alive, awake, and aware. Let us rejoice that we know these things. Let us give thanks that God, that we have witnessed to these reality, for that Spirit of the eternal, omnipresent, loving Father, Mother, God, continue to sustain and guide Kathy on her forward journey. And may that Spirit of that great loving presence comfort and sustain those of us that have come here, gathered here to wish Kathy Godspeed in her forward journey. And may the understanding of this bring us a great peace. And may that full realization of peace that passes understanding fill us with a deep knowingness that all is well, because all is, and so it is. Amen. I'd like to end with one last poem to honor our wonderful English teacher and writer, and that is, I'm standing at the seaside with a ship at my side, and she's an object of strength and beauty and magnificence. And I watch at great length until she hangs like a little speck of white cloud right where the sky and the sea mingle. And just at that moment when she leaves my side, there is someone who says, there, she's gone. Gone where? Gone from my side, that is all. For she is just as large in mast and spar or sail as when she left my side, just as able to bear her living weight to her destined port. And just at that moment when someone says, there, she's gone, there's other eyes ready to take up the glad shout, here she comes. And that, my friends, is kind of what dying is about, moving on. So bless the Spirit and all that is within us. Blessed is that holy name of the divine. And may the Spirit of God in me salute and honor the Spirit of God in you. And together, let us honor and love that Spirit that we have known as Kathy, Kat, Paulsen, as she moves forward, leaving us richer in her wake. God bless her. From our accompanist.